And welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who would never run the ball at the 1 yard line. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Great slate of games this week. How about that? All the morning games came down at the wire, it felt like. It feels like such a blur, honestly. I feel like I barely remember half of what happened this morning. So a lot of good stuff happening this week, and it came all the way down to the very last play of Sunday Night Football. So good day overall for football. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of thought like, oh man, what is the NFL doing? Giants, Bills here at Sunday Night Football, which I still think is a fair take to have, but that ended up being maybe the most exciting game of the, at least the most exciting finish of the week. Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I don't mind low scoring games. I know the internet always goes crazy every time there's neither team has at least 20 points, but I still enjoy a game like that.
I think in the right circumstances, like both of these teams had some big plays, move the ball a little bit, and it didn't result in points. And both of these teams, had some big time defensive plays too, also that didn't result in points for the other team as well. There are some games that I think can be low scoring, that can be kind of duds, like any Tennessee Titans game, basically. But anyway, I digress. This was a fun game. I agree.
Yeah, well, why don't we just jump in then? The Giants and Bills, this was an odd game. I mean, plenty of things to talk about. I don't know exactly where we want to start with. The Bills had they didn't score until the fourth quarter of this game. Yeah. Good job by the Giants defense to limit them. Obviously, the Giants had a chance to go up more than just 6-0. They could have gone up potentially a 13-0 if they got into the end zone, had the ball to 1. Tyrod Taylor with 14 seconds left, no timeouts, checks to a running play, which results in them not getting the touchdown, and then they end up, the clock runs out, aren't able to score. There was a fight in this game with Kayvon Thibodeau and Deion Dawkins. I have a video breaking all that down on this channel. And then finally, the Bills offense gets going. Josh Allen makes an absurd touchdown play. And then the Giants are able to get this drive going. Tyrod Taylor converts on multiple fourth downs, including one being a penalty to get him at the 1 yard line. They passed, which I think was the right call. They were the Bills were ready for a run, and then the looked like a penalty. Darren Waller was not able to get a second hand up, was not called, and somehow, some way, the Bills come out ahead here.
Yeah, they managed to come out in front, and I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, but if you find a way to get points at the end of the first half, you're probably winning this game. Obviously, stuff like that. That first half debacle was a complete mess. That obviously looked like a backup quarterback thinking he had more time than what it was. Didn't work out for him. That was a bad mistake. But yeah, I mean, it just came down to the Giants, didn't give themselves enough of a lead. And Josh Allen, despite, I don't think, playing a very good game, made some great plays in this game. That's still kind of what he has in him. Even on his bad days, he still has a few amazing plays, and he made a few amazing plays down the stretch of this one to help the Bills get the win.
Yeah. He did what he had to do. It definitely was the meme of sitting up in your chair in the final moments, getting to move the ball down the field. I agree. It wasn't a spectacular day. Made the plays. We have Joe in the chat with a super chat. Appreciate that, Joe. Story of this game, in my opinion, is Buffalo not looking good. Giants should have won this game. Yeah, and let's start with the Giants. Let's start with the Bills. It's another inconsistent game for them, right? It's becoming a history now of them not looking great at times, and really, with the exception of the Raiders game, I would argue this, or I guess the Bills game Dolphins game as well. The offense has been very inconsistent, right? I mean, the Jets look terrible. Bills against the Raiders, it looked awesome. Against the Commanders, it actually didn't look great despite the 37 points. It was kind of a weird game. Again, against the Dolphins, 48. Jaguars, I didn't think it looked great. And then this game, it didn't look great. So their overall totals are very good, but I feel like it's been really up and down.
Very up and down. And this team is desperate for a receiver to become available for trade. Just absolutely desperate. Because, I mean, it's the same story we've been saying. We said it last offseason. We said it this offseason. It's still the case. Stephon Diggs had 10 catches, had an excellent game. The rest of the team had 9 catches. They don't have secondary options. Gabe Davis is not him. I'm sorry. He's just not that guy. I
Hmm.
think he'd be a good third option, but he's not consistent enough to be your number two, and they don't have a number two beyond that. Knox has occasionally makes a good play. Their backs are doing. James Cook has been a serviceable option in the backfield. They don't really throw to their running backs at all, though. And they're desperate for a receiver to become available for trade in any sort of capacity because they need an upgrade desperately, and they've needed it for like 2 or 3 years. This is turning into Arsenal looking for a defensive midfielder. I know you don't understand the reference here, but it's just how has this not been addressed over these 2 years?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think that they like Gabe Davis more than everyone else does as part of it. I also thought that they ran the ball way too much in this game. I don't know why they were trying to get such a consistent run. Like Collinsworth, like in the third quarter, like, I like that they're not going away with the run here. It's like, well, they just haven't scored yet. So I don't love that personally, Collinsworth.
Yeah, and I mean their running numbers look good, but I don't think it was that great of a game either. I didn't like the game plan. I thought they were kind of sloppy at times offensively, and like you said, they didn't execute for 3 quarters, and it almost cost them in this game, in a game that they shouldn't have had trouble winning, going against a bad football team with a backup quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to talk about the Giants a little bit, I suppose. I mean, I was so ready for the Giants to win, so we could start the Saquon Barkley. Oh, they just needed him. They were bad because he was hurt. He just look at what he means to the team. I'll nearly beat the Bills once he comes back.
Yeah. I mean, he had some big plays in this game, but I guess a couple things with the Giants. I didn't think Tyrod looked that bad.
Hmm.
I didn't think it didn't look like a huge drop off, even though I don't want people to all of a sudden go and say this team's better with Tyrod Taylor in because they scored 9 points.
Hmm.
But
Their defense is better when Tyrod Tayller plays.
yeah, exactly. That makes a huge difference.
Uh-huh.
But no, I mean, I thought he made some plays. I thought he did some good things. I think the one thing, like, I wish they used a little more creativity with these receivers. Like, I know it's still not a good receiving core, but like Jalen Hyatt, like, he's obviously not like Tyreek Hill, but he is fast. Like, he is one of the fastest players in the league. And it feels like he's used exclusively for go routes or like hitches off those go routes. Like, why is this guy not put in jet sweeps, motions, or anything like this? It just kind of seems like he's in there for like standard operating procedure, like it's you know, old school deep threat receiver. Like, get him
Yeah.
involved in the offense in some different ways.
Yeah. Also, Kyle, you are very white right now. This is
Yeah.
it's a lot of it's like God Himself is like shining a light onto you or something, which is fun. So if you're listening, check out the video version for that. Yeah, I'm with you. I'll be honest. I didn't pay super close attention because I was trying to not to laugh at how bright you got.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I just
Yeah, it
all of a
looked good
sudden
a
I had
minute
a
ago.
glare. Yeah, it was perfectly fine. I don't know what happened. Oh well.
Anyway, but yeah, no, I do agree. I mean, and I don't know. There's things they could do. Do we put any criticism on Brian Dable for this one? I mean, on one hand, hey, defensive coaching, A+, great stuff there. With Martindale and all that. But for the for Brian Dable, I mean, he did still. Do you blame him at all for the debacle at the end of the half? I know it was Tyrod Taylor who did the check, but it is a coach's job to make sure your players know what to do in each situation.
Um, I think some blame, obviously. Like, I don't think it should exclusively go on Tyrod in those situations, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Like, what is it? At some point, like, I think the mics even in the helmets cut off at a certain point. So, you
Hmm.
know, I think you have to trust your quarterback's going to run the play that's called there and not check out of it. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think he's done a great job coaching this year, but I also understand what this roster is at this point, which is just not very good.
Yeah, I think there's probably more good than bad, but you have the obvious bad that happened, which is maybe what factors in. Oh yeah, I don't know. I took the Bills out of a Super Bowl contender and put them in the playoffs, but tier, but dot tier. I feel like that's my that's where how I feel about with the Bills right now. They're for sure
I,
playoffs, but there's some issues.
I think I'd agree. Like, they gave up some yards in this game. Like, they gave up 8.3 yards per reception. And, like, I think the pass interference that was called in the end zone, not the one that was missed, wasn't that Matt Milano's replacement who had that pass interference at the end zone at the end of the game? And, between him and Trey White's injury, I think this is looking a little more shaky as a defense, and then the offense, like we said, has been a little inconsistent.
Yeah. I also like that there's a comment of like, excellent take, my child, God. That was when you got bright. So maybe your takes are, God loves your takes when you get bright. Maybe that's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Interesting stuff. Great Sunday game. Always nice when the Sunday night game ends well. Eagles Jets. This was, I actually felt like Jalen Hurts was actually not bad in this game until that one disastrous play at the end. I thought that like two interceptions before that weren't his fault. He made some really impressive throws, but then we have to start with this. It's just a boneheaded mistake. He didn't see the linebacker. I think he just misread the coverage. I think he thought it was man coverage. Threw it over and just threw it right to a Jets player when they could have. If you didn't see what happened, for those of you out there, there was 2 minutes left, and the Jets didn't have any timeouts. It's a 3rd down and 9, and the Eagles are up 2. So if you can get the first down, you win. If you don't, but you stay in bounds, the Jets have to go the entire length of the field. They would have been pinned inside their own 10, probably, at least on 20. Have to go down, get a field goal to win it with a minute left, no timeouts. So Zach Wilson there. Instead, Hurts throws an interception, gives them 1st and goal, which they score a touchdown right after. And that was the game for Philadelphia.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think I said last week that Jalen Hurts has played some really good football the last couple of weeks, and I thought it continued a little bit into this game too. I thought he made some big plays, but like you said, just an inexplicably bad decision. I agree with you. I mean, it was just it cost them the game, literally. So,
yeah.
It stinks because I agree with you. I mean, the 3 interceptions are probably unfair, and he ended up with the 54 QBR, which is probably right given how his game went. Like, he was fine, but it was a horrendous decision. And I guess that's the thing is, like, we hold this guy to we have to start holding this guy to basically the elite tier quarterback level, right? Like, if this is a definitive loss on him because he made a big mistake at the end. It wasn't all on him. They made mistakes throughout the game, but that was the biggest play of the game, and it was a bad throw.
Yeah, I completely agree. Overlap 618 with the super chat. This is Overlap reminding you that any given Sunday, anything can happen. Browns versus 49ers, except for Overlap 618. I'm here every Sunday like Catholic Mass, and we appreciate you, Overlap 618. You're the one we pray to.
Yeah, thank you, Overlap. Keep making me glow.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Kyle, I have a take.
Yeah,
but just maybe a hot take. Is there only one elite quarterback in the NFL right now? Is Patrick Mahomes it? I think Joe Burrow, you could argue.
I saw a graphic of the side-by-side stats that was Russell Wilson versus Patrick Mahomes. And I think like Russell Wilson has more touchdown passes and less interceptions
this box score stats. Yeah.
So it was like clown fraud and for Russell Wilson, and it was GOAT for Mahomes, and I was laughing. Anyway, a little sidetrack there, but at the same time, I mean, I would say the gap between QB1 and QB2 is larger than it's been in a long time.
Yeah, because I just feel like, and I don't know why we're doing this during this discussion, but I guess we're talking about Hurts, who's sort of in that conversation. I just feel like people are bringing up Tua. Like, I'm sorry, Mahomes is on another level than Tua. Like, I like Tua a lot. Like, I think that Mahomes is the clear step up. I just think that, like, when Brady was doing his thing, there were always quarterbacks in his tier, right? Like, Manning was in the tier. Aaron Rodgers was in the tier. Brady just did it at such a high level for so consistently and was usually the best when he was there. Like, but, like, here, like, it's Mahomes. I think Mahomes is in a tier of his own. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few guys, obviously, like, I think it's clear that the other elite guys are capable of kind of like catastrophic mistakes at times. And that's the big difference, right? Like, Mahomes makes mistakes. He's obviously not perfect, but he doesn't make mistakes when it seems like it like matters the most. Like, if they just need, to kill some clock, he's willing to kill some clock. And obviously we saw with, Josh Allen has been prone to those mistakes. Hurts was prone to that mistake this week. I would say Justin Herbert is almost conservative to a fault sometimes as a quarterback, even though I still think he's in that elite tier. And, Burrow has made mistakes too in this season alone. So I would agree with that probably, that there's still a big gap, even though I think, I would still put those guys in the elite tier, even if they're capable of making mistakes like that.
But then we need like a super elite tier from Mahomes. Is all my point. But
Yeah,
we can get into
that's
that.
true.
And I don't know why I'm making it this week when he didn't have a great game against the Broncos' bad defense. I also like someone said Jared Goff. Yeah, that's true. Goff and Mahomes. Those are the two in the super elite tier.
That's exactly how I had it.
Yeah, correct. Okay. Back to this game. So, way sidetracked. Yeah, I mean, listen, like Hurst is making some good deep shots to AJ Brown. He's making some good throws to Devonta Smith, who decided not to catch on a few of them. Like the first two interceptions weren't his fault. It was one bad play. The running game wasn't working, and that's what the Jets did. The Jets did not allow the Eagles to just run this game away in the second half, like we've seen. You know, the Eagles were up 14-3. It's like, okay, here we go. We know how this goes. 14-3. There's going to be 3 possessions second half. They're going to just run out the clock. We've seen this. Jets didn't let that happen. And Zach Wilson playing competent football here.
Yeah, I mean, all that kind of goes together. And I mean, the impressive thing with this Jets win is they played that style. Like you said, they did everything they could to take away this run game, which means, light secondary stuff. Sauce Gardner's out, DJ Reed is out, and you managed to run this kind of game plan and have success against this team. Like the backup corners, I think deserve a ton of credit too. I know AJ Brown had a terrific game in this one, but they held up in a lot of big plays, I thought, as well, to minimize some of those Eagles drives. And then, yeah, I mean, the Zach Wilson thing has been interesting the last few weeks. I think there has been some overreaction to like he's good now or anything, but at the same time, the biggest difference with him is, as we talked about with some of these guys, he made 3 or 4 horrendous plays a game. And now it's down to like 0, which is, even if there's not great plays, he's not making horrendous plays anymore, which feels like a massive step forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about the Blaine Gabbert zone, but is this kind of like the career trajectory for Zach Wilson of like, has he played himself into like being a career backup for like 10 plus years? And I don't mean that as a negative at all. Like that's a great life if you can get it. I mean, he could add tens of millions of dollars to his total earnings if he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think they look for like a certain level of kind of just maturity when it comes to backup quarterbacks. But if he's willing to grow into that role, yeah, he could figure it out in the league for a long time. And he certainly still has the arm talent. It's still there. If he's not like a elite thrower or anything, or an elite quarterback mind or anything. So I think that's going to help him stick around. And I just think they've simplified this offense. It's Garrett Wilson's involved a lot. Breece Hall's involved a lot. Tyler Conklin's kind of the outlet. And then anything else is kind of gravy from this offense, basically.
Yeah. With a super chat, my Saints suck. Suck is a hard word, but a tough loss for them for sure. But yeah, completely agree. Jets, really good stuff. And, we're talking about the Hurts. Part of why I'm saying I think he played pretty well is going up against this Jets defense, only having one embarrassing play. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting game because if we were talking about just now, neither one of these quarterbacks played bad, but it was 20-14 and 14-12 for much of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, agreed. And that kind of goes to show the respect these defenses have. The Eagles weren't the only team to get their first loss of the day. The 49ers also went into Cleveland and lost this football game. They're human after all. Brock Purdy under 5 yards per attempt. And if you're here to see me kind of trash a quarterback, Brock Purdy wasn't great in this one. I don't know. I kind of feel like there was a couple times where they beat themselves. The weather was clearly a factor in this one. I mean, I think that's a great move that Cleveland has to help prop up their defense. I don't know what goes on there. Apparently, it's just like the storms every Sunday at 1 o'clock because like it's just always like raining there. So like Brock Purdy had a play that the ball just slipped out of his hand at one point. So like I do think that was a factor. I think that affected him. And the Browns defense is really good. And I think that's another factor, and they were able to make stuff happen. Huge win for Cleveland, but not concerning, in my opinion, by San Francisco.
Not concerning, but you do need your guys healthy, right? Like, obviously, the guys getting hurt, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey aren't able to finish this game. Even, like, Trent Williams got rolled up on in this game, too, and he managed to come back into it. But, it looked pretty scary because, it got under his leg a little bit. That didn't look good. Mm-hmm. And we talked about how just talented the top of this roster is, but they need those guys on the field. And I'm with you. Like, Brock obviously I wouldn't say he had a good game or anything like that, but the end of the day, like he went 52 yards in 9 plays in a minute and a half and put his team in a position to win it too.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
I thought he did pretty good at the end there too. I mean, he deserves credit for that as well. I'm with you though. I do think the one thing like the Cleveland defense is no longer, it might be the best defense in the league. It's in the conversation. It is the best defense in the league right now. Weather aside and all that, they are playing some terrific football. This defensive line's nasty. The secondary looks revitalized. Both of these corners are playing well. I think it's a terrific defense.
EPA per play wise, it's not even close. Like Baltimore's number 2 right now, and they're like a full Baltimore's at negative 0.161. Cleveland is at negative 0.249. Like that's like an absurd. Like the difference between 1 and 2 is like the difference between like 2 and like 6. Like it's like a big, massive jump there. So but yeah, I mean they're playing great. Again, I don't know how much the weather helps, but there's some negatives in the weather too, right? Like trying to cut in the rain makes it easier for guys to get open. Listen, this was not a great day by San Francisco. It wasn't. They had some plays where they beat themselves too. It wasn't just the weather. I do think that was a factor, but it wasn't just that. I'm just not overly concerned because I think that like Cleveland made things difficult. They weren't always able to make plays, but I think that in the future they'll be able to.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I really think this game says more about Cleveland than it does San Francisco. I still think San Francisco is the best team in football. You know, teams lose games. It happens. I think this is kind of, I think this Cleveland team's legit, and they're doing it with their backup quarterback in right now. And, they managed to check all the boxes. They ran for almost 5 yards per carry. Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford were both involved. Amari Cooper kind of had a big game in this one. Had a couple crazy catches.
He's still good. Like he's still consistently been good for Cleveland. He just doesn't get any attention because he plays in Cleveland.
Yeah, and their passing game obviously hasn't been ideal for about a year now.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so I think this is an impressive team. I think that they are a healthy quarterback away from really making some noise in this league. So I think this is a big one for the Browns, more than I say a bad loss for the 49ers. I still think they're clearly the best team. I'm not worried about it. I feel like every game we've pulled up in the chat, everyone says the quarterbacks suck. So I need to know which quarterbacks do people think are good if every quarterback sucks now. So just go ahead and tell me that, and we'll go from there.
Jared Goff, the guy who's the only guy in the super elite here, better than Mahomes.
Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, and Tua. Those are the 3 only good quarterbacks.
I think so. I mean, I saw someone's, the Browns had to play in the rain too, and their quarterback play also wasn't good in this game. I think, I think that I agree. Like, I think that was that. I think that helps a team that relies less on the passing game, which was Cleveland. Not to take away from their loss at all. They won it fair and square. I'm just, it was just to talk about maybe why the performance was the way it was. But yeah, I mean, I did to say, a lot of hate going Brock Purdy's way. I was surprised at how many people on Twitter were like, Brock Purdy's a fraud. It's like, listen, we all know who Brock Purdy is. Like, Brock Purdy's a good, solid game manager, and he's a young player who can get better. Like, no one was saying Brock Purdy is, I mean, I did say maybe he's an MVP conversation, but that wasn't because I was like, he's the best quarterback in football, just because that's how the narrative tends to go. Like, we all know who Brock Purdy is. Yeah.
I mean, I think he's good. I don't think this was his best game. Obviously, I'm not putting him, I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback still. I just think he's good. I think he's really good. So, I mean, I don't know.
Played better than Burrow did in the same exact situation.
This whole thing has gotten so annoying to me. Like, I'm so sick of talking football with people sometimes because we have all gone quarterback insane. And we've all gone rankings insane in all of sport. Everything has to be this person's better than this person because of this.
Right.
We have to rank everything. Like, guess what? Quarterbacks can play good and even great, dare I say, and lose football games. Quarterbacks can play bad and win football games. Like like we've just gone quarterback insane with everything. Everything has to be a quarterback is good or bad. Everything has to be a quarterback is an MVP, future Super Bowl winner and Hall of Famer, or this guy's out of the league in 2 years. Like, we can't just say someone had a good day or a bad day. Like, everything has to mean something. Like, just shut up and watch the games. Like, we don't have to debate this every week. It's annoying. I'm sick of it.
All right. Well, yeah. Well done, Kyle. Well, let's move on then before you get more sick of it. Let's talk about another game. Well, all right, Kyle, let's go here. I apologize. Patriots Raiders as the New England Patriots. Speaking of sick of it, so it was announced that Malik Cunningham was the backup quarterback in this game, not Bailey Zappi. It was also rumored that I don't know if it's rumored or just straight up said that Mac Jones was going to have a short leash if he played poorly. Well, I don't know how short that leash was, and it wasn't all his fault in this one, but he had a bad interception early on. The offense still not able to get it done, despite the greatness of Devontae Parker trying to will his team to a victory. Wasn't able to get it done.
Yeah, he said after the game, Devontae Parker said that pass was off his fingertips. I don't know how the fingertips match with the palms on his hand, but looked like it hit him right in the palms, man. That was horrendous. I mean, honestly, Devontae Parker was the best player in this game, and any team looking for a new wide receiver addition should give a call to the Patriots and get a trade in. I will drive Devontae Parker to the airport if you are looking for a receiver.
I think I would drive any NFL player to the airport.
Yeah, that's true.
For the story,
fair enough. Especially Devontae Parker right now, or Valerian Lowe. That guy can get driven to the airport too. Okay. Look, I mean, similar thing. Like, I don't know. I didn't think Mac Jones was actually that bad in this game. I thought his interception was horrendous. He just badly missed a throw. But it was one of those things where, he had several plays a second and a half into being in the backfield. Max Crosby's hitting him or something like that. And he made some good throws in this game. And we can't even blame his crappy deep ball because he put it right on Devontae Parker's hands to win the game. And, stop me if you've heard this before. The Patriots had a shot to win the game at the very end and didn't win. This is just becoming the theme, and it's not always the quarterback that makes the bad play. Two of the losses this week are on receivers not focusing at the end of games. Parker had a chance to catch this ball and put us pretty close to field goal range, which would have got us the win. Keyshawn Butte had a play towards the sideline, didn't get both feet in. So I don't know. It wasn't a good game for the Patriots overall, but they had a shot to win it and they didn't come through.
Yeah, we have a super chat. Also, just a little heads up for anyone who gives a super chat. If Kyle's talking, I'm going to let him finish his point and then bring up the super chat, just so you know how that works. But anyway, Jesse says, do you think the Pats would still be in a situation if they got D-Hop? Kyle, what do you think?
I mean, they have 3 one-score losses. And in all 3 of those games, they had the ball at the end to try and win it. Like, yeah, I mean, they probably would have won at least one of these games if they had a real number 1 receiver. So, I mean, I don't think they'd be like 5-1 instead of 1-5, but I definitely think they could have had 2 wins by now. So I agree. Yeah.
I think a better position. Kyle, I have a question.
Yeah.
Say something about this Patriots team that you couldn't also say about a poorly coached team.
I mean, it's nothing. They commit a lot of penalties. They commit a lot of backbreaking penalties too. They turn the ball over. 10 penalties in this game. Like, what the hell? They actually went 6 of 12 on third down in this game, but they weren't very good on third down most of the year. So yeah, I mean, there's not really anything you could say that this team's poorly coached, not very talented, and also, just injured too. So if you honestly thought about it, like the best Patriots player right now, and I don't want to take away from him because he's having a fantastic year. The best Patriots player right now might be Jabril Peppers.
He had a big hit in this one.
Yeah, I mean he's had a good start to the year. I mean, what other quarterback? I mean, what other teams are winning with Jabril Peppers as their best player?
It's probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not a quality roster. I mean, that's just what it is. And I mean, with all the guys they've had injured, they're down to their 5th and 6th corners. Like, I mean, they're basically down to J.C. Jackson and Miles Bryant are playing basically the whole game at this point. But it wasn't a good game. It's kind of looked like the Patriots all year, though. Raiders played pretty well, I guess. Yeah, they played well.
Sure. We chat. Hoyer graded him Mahomes. Yeah, Hoyer's also in that super elite tier with Jared Goff. He's another guy. Kyle, Brian Hoyer's stats in this one: 6 for 10, 102 yards, no interceptions, no touchdowns. Blow it up. You got to blow up the Patriots roster. Brian Hoyer's going over 10 yards per attempt against you. It's over.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if a few of these guys are traded. Kendrick Bourne did a nice job of boosting his trade stock this game. He was one of the best players out there. So I would be fine shipping off several guys. I've given up. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hoyer looks solid. I don't know. Raiders are kind of fun. Raiders are 3-3. They're hanging in there. They're winning these close games, and I don't know. There is kind of, I feel like, a little bit of vacuum for that 7th seed in the AFC. I don't know if they're going to get there. I still feel like there's too many flaws, but they're hanging in there right now, and they play. Listen, the schedule is not that tough coming up. They play the Bears next week. They do play the Lions on Monday Night Football the week after. But then you get the Giants. You got the Jets. This feels like this could be a 500 ball club by the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, this defensive line's working really hard. Max Crosby continues to be a menace, but the other guys are also stepping up. They had 4 sacks in this game. Trayvon Merrig looked really good in this game. So this defense has looked a lot better than I think we thought preseason, just by some of these guys playing better, stepping up. So I think that's a huge step in the right direction. And then the Patriots, they still do the same thing where they try and take away your best option. I thought they did a really good job on Adams in this game for sure. But then the next guy stepped up. Jacoby Myers had a good game.
Myers revenge game.
If you're curious, Jacoby Myers had 5 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster had 0 targets. So,
okay.
If you want the comparison there, that's how that went. Michael Mayer had a fantastic game.
Surely they must have gotten Juju Smith-Schuster for a lot cheaper than they got Jacoby Myers, right?
No, they did not.
Oh, wow. Price. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if they can get this, if they can get Mayer as that third option, all of a sudden this is a lot more interesting of a team because it kind of still feels like Myers or Adams or bust. But if it's Mayer too, then all of a sudden I'm intrigued.
Yeah, do think Garoppolo is going to have to stay healthy though. I don't know how much I trust Hoyer to destroy her. Although I don't know, he weirdly will have good games. So who knows with that situation. Lions Buccaneers. Let's go from your misery to mine, Kyle. This was a frustrating game as a Tampa Bay fan. As Lions are really good. We all know the Lions are really good. Lions have been debatably, some people are saying the best team in football. They've been up there, 5-1, tied for the best record in the league. A lot of teams are 5-1, but they're one of them. Tampa Bay also they did not play well. Baker Mayfield missed several. He missed a handful of throws in this one. He was off and also got banged up on the last. I believe it was the last play of the game, which is not good. So that makes things concerning. On one hand, you can look at this and say, hey, if Tampa Bay played their best football, Evans had a bad drop in there as well, which is starting to become a trend with Evans this season. If they played their best football, they could have totally been in this game. Their defense did a lot of good stuff, which we kind of talked about in the pre-show of how this could be not the pre-show, but the preview show, how this could be a good matchup for Tampa Bay defensively, and it was, but the offense just was not able to get done. A lot of credit has to go to the Lions defense, but also Tampa Bay had opportunities and weren't able to take advantage of them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think they did have some opportunities. This was easily Baker's worst game as a Buck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just poor all around, like you said, missed some throws. But they still had chances and get some points, and they just didn't really convert. And I do think a lot of that was on Mayfield in this game. But I think they did a good job of stopping the run, although Montgomery did get hurt in this game. And I think that without him, without Gibbs, I think that played a part. But we joked about Jared Goff's not the super elite tier, or he is a super elite tier. He was fantastic in this game. He was able to pick apart this Tampa secondary that had been pretty good this season.
I don't even know if I would phrase it that way because I felt like a lot of what they were doing, I thought the Lions were just so creative in this game. I mean, some of
Mhm.
these passes, I mean, Amon St. Brown, 12 catches for 124 yards, but they're just so good at getting you. I guess God was a fan of your take. God's trying to light on you again, Kyle. But
There it is.
I thought that. I just thought that there were some really clever stuff. I mean, some of these screen passes at the right exact time to get guys down the field. Obviously, there was that great block by I'm trying to remember Craig Reynolds was the player who had the great block that allowed the Amon St. Brown touchdown. Jameson Williams had a big play as well, but again, that was on a really good play call. Just this Lions offense is firing on all cylinders, and even with what we said, a good matchup for Tampa Bay. Like Levante David was showing up in this one. Like he was really a nuisance, which is kind of what we thought might happen. But the Lions were still able to get it done and still able to have a good offensive day.
Yeah. Isn't it odd that, like, I don't know. It's just funny that they went, they had 8 yards per attempt, no turnovers. They did pretty well on third. They were over 50% on third down and scored 20 points. That was the funny part of this game is I think all the results were good, or the process was good, but the results weren't. It was only 20-6, but at the same time, they did what they had to do and, came up with some big plays at the end. So can't really fault them for that. But yeah, I mean, this Lions offense, I continue to. I'm not the only one on it now. Everyone's kind of on. Ben Johnson is one of the best play callers in the game. This is a well-oiled machine, and he is the conductor. Kind of running the show here, and he's done a great job, and he's going to be an excellent head coach. I would assume. So it's a. I think it's. I think everything's firing all center for the Lions. They're 5-1 and rolling right now.
Yeah, a great win for the Lions. I feel good about putting them in the Super Bowl contenders tier. That they feel that checks out. But again, for Tampa Bay, this was just I don't know. Their offense still hasn't been great. It just hasn't. Neither team ran the ball well in this game. But the Buccaneers, we trust the Lions will figure it out in different games when they're not playing Vita Vea. The Buccaneers still haven't been able to consistently do this. Like, I mean, Keyshawn Vaughn was kind of considered like a bust, and now he's like getting like significant playing time for Tampa Bay. And I also thought the Lions had a really good, well-coached team of a lot of good decisions of kind of forcing the ball away from guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and getting on third downs, forcing Baker to have to go elsewhere. Baker has to play better, and we'll see what he does in the future.
Yeah. So 2 questions out of this game.
Okay.
Are the Lions closer to the Eagles than we thought? Is question 1. Question 2, is Tampa Bay the good, bad team?
The good, bad. Yeah, I mean, I always get confused. Like, what's the difference between good, bad, or bad, good? I feel like that's the same thing. I don't know. I think Tampa Bay might be the third. Everyone feels. I feel like everyone has said, "Oh, Tampa Bay is gonna win the division." I don't think it's like a given like that. They play Atlanta next week, which I'm going to be at actually. That's a huge game. That feels like that's like a massive. I've been saying all year it's going to come down to who wins the divisional matchups. Everyone in the division lost this week. To me, they're still a team. They're fighting for. They're a playoff contender. That's what they are. The Lions. Yeah, I mean it's hard to after this week look at the Lions and say that they're not in that tier. And I'm still going to say and in the San Francisco tier. I know San Francisco looked great to start, but I still feel like I feel like those are the 3 teams right now.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I think my only Tampa thing is they've clearly looked a little overwhelmed against the Eagles and the Lions, but I do think there's enough pure talent on this team that where, it's not surprising when they dominate the Saints. It's not surprising when they, beat up on the Bears, stuff like that. So I think I expect them to win a few of these games on their schedule for sure. And when they play like the Bills and the 49ers, I think they're going to lose by double digits. And that's just kind of what this team is, I feel like.
I just still feel like, isn't this like every Frank Reich coach team, the Buccaneers, except for this year, with the Colts, of this, like they're trying to run the ball, they have some solid receivers, and like they're trying to win games defensively. And it's just like, usually this can sometimes get you into the playoffs, but I still feel like this isn't the team that's, I don't think Tampa Bay is a team that's going on a deep run. I famously said that Tampa Bay in 2020 wasn't the Super Bowl team when they won a Super Bowl, so I'd love to be wrong. But that's just where I'm at right now. You have to have a good offense to be able to go on a deep run. And right now, I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they scored 27 against Chicago, but that was with 7 points with the defense. They scored 20 against Minnesota. They scored 11 against the Eagles. They did score 26 against the Saints, but again, had a lot of turnovers in that game, and then just 6 against the Lions. Offense has not been good enough. It just hasn't.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. Well, let's move on. Why don't we? Let's talk Seahawks Bengals. Why don't we? This was an interesting game. Came down to the wire as well. Two teams that are, I think maybe a little bit disappointed with their starts now. The Seahawks were trying to go 4-1 because they had a bye week. Bengals get back to 500. Geno Smith ended up with not the best statistical day. Yards per attempt were good, 323 yards on 41 attempts, but no touchdowns, 2 picks. That doesn't help. The Bengals offense wasn't all the way back, but it's getting back. Again, they still are Jamar Chase dependent, but like we kind of said last week, a Jamar Chase dependent offense, still a good enough offense to win you some games. Cincinnati now 3-3. They don't know how to start the seasons, but they can do pretty good from that point forward.
Yeah, they have righted the ship, and all of a sudden, after all that, all the panic meters we put on the Bengals, they're a game out of the division. So, everything's just fine now. I mean, like you said, it still wasn't a great game, I thought, for the Bengals, but this defense continues to play well. This secondary continues to play really well. It feels like every game I'm tuning in now, Cam Taylor-Britt's making it a big play. Come up with a big play at the end of games or in, crucial parts of the game. He comes up with a big play in this one. Mike Hilton gets the interception towards the end zone, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, Bengals are finding ways to win even without looking good, and I still think there's a good team here. So I can't imagine what this team's going to be like when they fully lock in.
Yeah, Bengals defense has looked at, what you hoped for if you're a Bengals fan. I mean, T. Higgins still hasn't looked good. I don't know how healthy he is or what, but he hasn't had a good year at all. And to me, like, that's probably the biggest thing, right? Is they just need to get T. Higgins going. Joe Burrow's, I think, looking back, like the yards isn't good, right? 185 yards on 35 attempts, but I still think he's looking better week after week. It's just they need to get him and T. Higgins going, and once they do, they could totally be a championship contender again.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, and we both believe those are really good players. So, I fully expect them to come back. They got some interesting games here coming up at 49ers, home to the Bills. I think there's a bye week before that 49ers game. I think they're off next week. But those two games, maybe out of the bye week with those games, they can get some big wins and kind of cement who they are this season. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah. How do we feel about Seattle? I still think this is a quality loss, right? I mean, their defense, they would have liked to have a better performance from Geno Smith, but like went up against a good team. You barely lost. I'm not ready to hit the panic button, although you would have loved to win.
I agree with all that. I think my one concern is like for a team that I kind of had in a tier with like maybe Dallas and Detroit, I feel like they've fallen out of that group totally. Like I would even put them in a tier behind Dallas if Dallas isn't in that top 3, right? Like, and I think after Dallas's last game, they're clearly not in the top 3. So yeah, I think Seattle's kind of fallen into like a tier of their own, if you will, for that tier 3 spot. And I think I still fully expect them to get that 6 seed. I still fully expect them to be involved in the conversation and have a playoff game. But I think they've still kind of fallen a little short of my expectations, even if the defense has played better the last 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah, I think I agree. Let's move on. Why don't we?
One thing too.
Oh, go ahead.
DK Metcalf, stop being annoying, man. Like,
yeah,
you're easily one of the most likable players in the league, just off of your being mammoth receiver and incredibly talented and all that. Why do you got to be annoying? Just play football. Like, what is this? Every week I feel like I'm tuning into someone like a cheap shot. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's kind of it's a thing with him. It is. Jackson Smith and Jigba had at least a decent day here. Finally starting to get him involved in the offense. That's nice.
Yeah, him and who's the other guy? The other rookie, Jake Bobo, had a couple big catches in this game, then got hurt. So hopefully he's healthy. Both of those guys look pretty good in this game.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's go to Saints Texans. Why don't we? Kyle, CJ Stroud's a good quarterback.
Yes, he is. Checks the boxes again, man.
Yeah. This was, I know, only 20 total points, but I thought he was really good in this game. Like under 200 yards, I guess, but 13 for 27, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw an interception, although, again, in perfect CJ Stroud fashion, finally throws an interception, and then the the player who intercepted it then fumbles it, and the Texans get it right back. So still no interceptions that result in turnovers. I guess it's technically a turnover, but you know what I mean, for Houston. He was able to make some really impressive plays down the field. Saints didn't give him a lot. When he threw that earlier interception, I kind of thought, like, okay, here we go. The Saints against a young quarterback. We've seen this story before. No, we haven't seen this story before. CJ Stroud, really impressive. And I mean, as of right now, give me one game. Who would you rather have for next week, Derek Carr or CJ Stroud? I think I'm taking CJ Stroud. I know you said you don't like rankings, but that's where I'm at with these two players right now.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud's doing some awesome stuff, I'd say. I mean, he's kind of, it's been impressive. I mean, it really has. This defense has a way of making good quarterbacks look terrible, right? Like they have made quarterbacks look silly over the years. And, it wasn't the best day ever. Again, that's kind of the big thing, but he's checking all the boxes. He's making some big plays. And, just time and time again, he's extending plays and making big time throws. And, those are kind of the qualities we see. Those are the qualities we see from elite guys. And he's not there yet because he's still got a lot of learning to do. But he's showing the flashes of what, Justin Herbert showed his rookie year, what Mahomes showed his, I guess his second year he won MVP. So that's not a fair comparison. But at the same time, he's showing the same flashes that all the other great quarterbacks showed their first years. And once he establishes that consistency and that confidence, like, I mean, this guy looks like he's on the path to being an elite player in this league.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it looks like. He still struggles with pressure in front. When he's running backwards, he still kind of homeless throws there. But yeah, I agree. Other than that, I thought he was awesome. And this Texans team, they have a bye week next week, and then they play Carolina coming out of the bye, which is an interesting, pick number 1 versus pick number 2 situation. The flip side, Saints offense still isn't looking great when they're not playing the Patriots, right? I mean, this has still been a not a great performance here. Really, this should have looked worse. I mean, Rashid Shaheed it was like a 40-yard completion. He just stole it from the defensive back and got a big completion instead. It should have been another pick for Derek Carr. You look at, 353 yards, that's good. But on 50 attempts, a touchdown and interception, it's not a disaster right now for New Orleans, but it's also, I don't know, maybe similar to Tampa Bay. It's not good enough right now.
I think the thing that's just so bizarre is if you took away the one game that Carr couldn't throw the ball past the line of scrimmage, which I don't even know why he played that game, right?
Sure.
Like outside of that, like this team has been awesome at moving the ball. And I continue to say this team looks explosive. They have 3, I think, really good receivers. Olave is a stud. And I think Shaheed and Thomas as secondary options are really good too. And Kamara hasn't, been the best, but he's been fine as the running back there. They get yards like crazy. But why does this team continue to make backbreaking plays? This team had 2 turnovers again in this game, 0-3 in the red zone in this game. This team feels like it's consistently getting 400 yards of offense and scoring 14, 15 points a game.
Right.
Like, that's inexplicable for the team. Like, this team should be better than what it is, I think, is the issue. And they're just, they have 2 games of 20 points, and those 2 games were 20 points exactly in a 34-0 blowout that involved a defensive touchdown. This team should be scoring a lot more than what it is with this talent.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you could look at the Packers game. Carr got hurt in the 4th, and then didn't play against or he played against Tampa Bay, and that wasn't good. But yeah, I agree. I mean, and even the game against the Patriots. I still don't think it was amazing offensively. I just thought it was good. I don't know. They're just a weird team right now. Do you think they're going to figure it out?
I don't know, man. I feel like they should. Like, if you were to just, if you were to grade the NFC South teams, I still feel like this might be the most talented of the bunch.
Mm-hmm. I think they have the highest ceiling.
I think so too, but that's and a lot of that is I think their quarterback is still the best quarterback in this division. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I just don't really see how, what isn't being fixed now that can be fixed? How do they get better in the red zone?
Well, maybe just hope that it kind of reverts back, right? Like that's kind of something that can fluctuate game in and game out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I'm definitely watching it because I do feel like this team, this is an offense that's great in certain situations, but it's not converting when it matters most.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about another NFC South team. Falcons lost to the Washington Balls. Kyle, Desmond Ritter sucks.
Oh man, this game was brutal. This game
Mm-hmm.
was absolutely brutal. They were down 24-16 for it felt like an eternity. They
Uh-huh.
got 3 possessions down 24-16 and just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think for all the criticism, I think Arthur Smith deserves some criticism, but they're at least like doing the right things now on offense where like it's one of those things. It feels like every team has like a guy at least that they can rely on for their offense outside of the Patriots, who just don't invest in good players. It's
Mm-hmm.
like they're like now it's like, oh wait, maybe we should get Drake London and Kyle Pitts involved in the offense. In the last 2 weeks, I think both of those guys have looked really good. And they're using those guys, they're using Bijan and Tyler Algier. And that's kind of their offense right now. But man, this felt like such a letdown because Washington was begging to give this game away. Just
Uh-huh.
absolutely begging to give it away. And Washington or Atlanta couldn't take it. They just couldn't. And Ritter made some bad throws at the end of it.
Yeah, but you got to give credit to Washington. Like, the defense definitely came through when it had to. We're able to make some plays, for sure. And Sam Howell, to his credit, like, he didn't turn the ball over, right? Like, it wasn't like the easiest day to move the ball down the field, but played it a smart way, trusted his defense in this situation. You got to give him credit for that. But yeah, I mean, this is not to keep harping on this. This is why you don't build a team around a running back. Like, this is because you usually, this is kind of your ceiling at that point. You need a quarterback to go with it. You need at least you need a Ryan Tannehill. So far, Ritter's shown flashes of being the Ryan Tannehill, but not right now. He's looking like this year Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. As I just said, everyone has gone quarterback insane. I
Mm-hmm.
also think this is the answer to you've built an absolute Ferrari and forgot to put the engine in, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
like this
Mm-hmm.
this offense has all the pieces to be absolutely nasty. I think they got a good play caller as their head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Despite Atlanta fans being upset about it sometimes. I think they got a good play caller as a head coach. They got all these pieces. They got 2 good backs. They got multiple good receivers. They have a really good offensive line, and you forgot the engine for this thing, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest problem.
Yeah, again, people go quarterback crazy for a reason, right? Like there's a reason for it. The Commanders play the Giants next week. The Giants are going to win that game, aren't they? That's just what they do. They just for some reason, or would that be another tie? I think tie.
A tie would be interesting.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I mean, I think this Commanders team still feels unimpressive. That's kind of just how I
They're
feel.
just they're
Uh,
fine. They're a fine team.
mhm. Yeah, I think that
Sam
they.
Howell's Sam Howell or Desmond Ritter.
I guess Sam Howell. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's been up and they've both been up and down. I feel like he's been a little better.
he feels like he has some insanity to him. Like
Right.
there are
Mm-hmm.
definitely some plays I'm like, oh, okay. But he makes some good throws too, and he got McLaurin involved in the offense this week, which I thought was big. I mean, there are good things about this Washington team. I agree. I don't think this secondary is all that bad. I think the defensive line's good. Cody Barton's a little too involved in this defense for my liking. But outside
Uh
of that, like I think there's some good players on this team. I just don't think it's a complete team.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's move on. Let's finish up with the NFC South. Why don't we? The 0-4 NFC South. Bryce, for a second, this looked interesting. And I sort of saw out of the corner of my eye, like, oh wow, Panthers up 14-0. I assumed there was like a pick six or something in there. There wasn't. It was just a couple 3-and-outs. Panthers moved the ball down the field a couple times, were able to score. Weren't able to do much since then. The Panthers, we talk about the Bengals being Jamar Chase dependent. Panthers are Adam Thielen dependent, which is like not as good of a situation. Thielen's been
Yeah.
good, but like that's just a bit of a downgrade there. Like again, I think at this point in Thielen's career, you think, I don't know, maybe he can be a solid number 2 option. You love him as a number 3. He's their number 1, 2, and 3 option, which is tough. Young look better in this game for sure. He's getting rid of football quicker, which is kind of a big thing that he needs to do. Johnny Hecker got into it with a special teams player in this game. That was interesting. And then, Tua, again, bit of a slow start, but then looked awesome from that point forward. Tyreek Hill, did get a little, looked like, had some cramps, so it was a little scary at first. Just another casual 163-yard day for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
The guy's got 814 yards already.
Yeah. I mean, if McCaffrey's able to come back next week, this is going to be a fascinating offensive player of the year debate. Because neither of these guys are going to actually win MVP. I mean, you could talk me into either of those guys for MVP right now. I don't care. Tyreek Hill's been awesome. I mean, he's been fantastic. He's, I think, been the best offensive player this year, up there with McCaffrey at least. And I mean, this Dolphins team continues to roll. So, I mean, just they scored 42 straight points after falling down 14-0. I mean, that I don't think anyone was expecting Carolina to still win this game, even being up 14. And this is with Bryce Young probably playing his best game of his career.
Mike White had the great statistical day of 0 for 1 with an interception. That's a passer rating of 0 for those keeping track at home.
That was a horrendous throw too. That was not good. But I don't know. The thing that's so crazy is they're seeing such light boxes now. It honestly feels like I could go and get 2 touchdowns a game running the ball with this team. And it seems like any running, I mean, they have legit, I think Mostert's pretty good. I think Achan's actually really good. So having these guys in the backfield, at this point, it feels like everyone could get 5 yards of carry in this Miami offense. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's the classic thing, right? Of the Shanahan scheme is the perfect example of why any running back can work, and you don't need to pay too much attention to running backs. Just get someone. Don't put too much resources into it. Put a little into it, but don't put too much. And then the Shanahan scheme is always the one. They're always going out drafting running backs every year and signing running backs every year.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so funny how it works out. So, I think that's going to be interesting. I think this Miami team, they came in here and kicked butt. That's what we wanted to see. Is Frank Reich going to get fired in year 1?
Well, we're seeing it happen more and more now. If it goes this way for the whole year, I don't think he'll get fired mid-season, but I think that, I could see him going 1-0.
I think so too. It's not looking good.
Yeah, we'll see if he can turn it around. Let's move on. 5 games left. Let's go Ravens, Titans. Where was this game played? Was this London or was this somewhere else?
London, yeah.
Okay.
I totally forgot it was happening.
Gotcha.
I dropped the ball on it, but it's okay.
Okay, well, don't worry. I caught it. We're good. I was able to. So Lamar had another one of those days where he's playing really well, missed a couple throws, and then somehow the offense isn't rolling like that. You look at the score and say, 24-16. That makes sense. No, Justin Tucker had, I'm trying to remember how many field goals he had in this one. It was 6. Goes 6 for 6 on a day, Justin Tucker does. And the Ravens are able to win. Death by field goal here. John Harbaugh had some weird 4th down decision makings. At a certain point, I think he's just hey, it's fun. Let's get him. Let's get Justin Tucker a bunch of field goals. That's interesting. The Ravens win. I still feel like they're looking a little underwhelming, and the Titans might not be a great football team. Malik Willis had to come in when Ryan Tannehill got banged up, and nearly had as many yards as Tannehill had in the game, despite Willis only having 5 passes. Malik Willis, 74 yards on 5 attempts. Ryan Tannehill, 76 yards on 16 attempts. Tannehill had an interception as well. And I mean, Derrick Henry's awesome. 8.1 yards per carry, only 12 carries though, because again, they were down for most of the game. So yeah, I mean, this is a tough spot here for Tennessee.
We got a super chat, by the way, from Drink.
Oh, yes. You want to read it?
Yeah, Dolphins have 30 touchdowns. This offense, maybe we're not talking about it enough. This offense is special. I mean, it really is. It's record-breaking. So thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Ravens, Titans. Malik Willis didn't look that bad. I do think that he still struggles with the idea of having to play quarterback, it seems like, with the pass rush.
He loves taking sacks. Big fan of sacks.
Just the ability to be aware of pressure coming and also look downfield seems like a problem. But if he didn't have pressure, I think he looks really good.
That'd be a good off-season podcast, is ranking the quarterbacks if they didn't have to play with pass rushers.
Derek Carr would be top 5. So.
Yeah, he'd be great.
But anyway, I mean, Tennessee's not going to win a lot of games where they only get to run the ball 12 times with Derrick Henry, right? I mean, they didn't have a lot of plays in this game, and it's kind of the nature of these two teams. They both run the ball a lot. But yeah, I mean, they need to get that more involved if they want to win games. And I mean, it's just, the passing game for this team is just not good enough. It hasn't been good enough since AJ Brown left, and DeAndre Hopkins had a good game last week. It's still not good enough since AJ Brown left. Losing AJ Brown has cost this team multiple really good seasons potentially. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think I agree. That was obviously a bad call in hindsight, trading him. And also, the Ravens defense, kind of underrated, played really well this year. And I mentioned they're number 2 in total EPA defensively.
They're such a bizarre team. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like they are. I think the Ravens are good.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they've had one convincing win all year, and it was against Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
mm-hmm.
What did they? It'd be nice if they could like dominate a team once in a while. I think, but I do think they are good. I think they're one of the better teams in the AFC.
Yeah, Ravens, a weird team. We'll see where they go from here. Let's go to the Thursday game, why don't we? We went to morning game. Let's go to the Thursday game. Kyle, when I locked up the Chiefs to cover a 10.5-point spread, a 19-8 victory was not what I had in mind. Somehow, a defensive battle here with the Chiefs. Travis Kelce was pretty much the entire Chiefs offense. Offense still not looking great for Kansas City, despite, I think, good quarterback play from Patrick Mahomes, despite his Russell Wilson-esque numbers. Russell Wilson put up some Zach Wilson-esque numbers. Not this year Zach Wilson, but last year Zach Wilson-esque numbers. 95 yards on 22 attempts, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And this was a dominant win for the Chiefs defense, who's consistently looking great. Chiefs still need to get their offense going. It's weird how that's not working out. Short week, all that stuff. But, the Chiefs defense is legit.
Chiefs defense is legit. This was stupid that she got your lock win. That's stupid 52-yard field goal at the end.
It shouldn't count, right? Like this should not count.
This was not a great picks week though for you, so you need the lock.
I did. Yeah, this is tough. I missed 4 games this week.
Yeah. But yeah,
and I had the Bills too. I was freaking out. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're fine. That was a close one too. I mean, look, I think I still think the offense is a problem. I agree. I think outside of Kelce, this passing game has been lacking. Although maybe Rashee Rice is the number 2 option now. Maybe that's an option going forward. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean they're winning games with their defense though. And if Patrick Mahomes has a good defense, like I think he's going to make enough good plays. This team's still a contender, and this defense is legitimately awesome.
Yeah, and I still keep pointing out like the Chiefs' offense still has been statistically really good. It's just not Chiefs' offensive numbers. Like that's kind of the what we're waiting for. I still don't understand how I don't know why isn't some team throwing why don't the Chiefs throw 2 first-round picks on to get Devontae Adams, right? Like why isn't that happening? Why isn't someone going out and even hey, DeAndre Hopkins, that didn't work out in Tennessee. Come over here. Like we'll give you a draft pick for that. Titans, hey, you got a free draft pick. I mean, part of the issue is even I don't know. Could you even consider DJ Moore a trade to go to I feel like there's so many contenders that desperately need receivers. I guess part of the issue too is if you have a great receiver, you're probably not an awful team.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it feels like they should be able to go after somebody, but I guess maybe closer to the trade deadline, something pops up. But at the same time, I don't know. I joked about it last week, but I don't know. I feel like a Kendrick Bourne would really help this team. I don't even think they need to go get a Devontae Adams. Just someone like that level that, can catch 6 or 7 passes a game, I think would go such a long way. I mean, hell, take Juju Smith-Schuster back.
Yeah, honestly. Why isn't that happen? Give him a 5th round pick, get Juju back.
Yeah, and as Jackson Payne here says again, and I hate to feel like I keep bringing this up here with our super chat, red zone offense just seems really poor this year, just top to bottom. I think it's been unimpressive. And Kansas City went 1 of 5 in this game. They're 17th in the league in red zone efficiency at 54%. And that's just not something we expect from Mahomes and Andy Reid offense with Travis Kelce, a 54% conversion rate in the red zone. And yeah, I mean, it just hasn't been good enough for some of these high level teams. We talked about New Orleans too. New Orleans is 26th in the red zone. Cincinnati is 24th in the red zone. There's just, Jacksonville's another team we've had questions about their offense, 23rd in the red zone. There are good offenses that aren't converting at the end of fields, and I feel like that's where their points totals are struggling.
The actual the comment was 1 for 5 in the red zone is gross. Tony passed the ball in the double coverage to a running back on 3rd and goal. Yeah, I mean, no. Well, let me ask you this question. One of the big things that Sabermetrics, one of the first real wins they had in baseball, was that runners left on base is a good thing because that means that you're doing well. Is it possible that not scoring in the red zone, I don't want to say is a good thing, but like is one of those things where it's like runners left on base, where it's going to eventually not completely revert to the same odds for every single team. But if a good team is having bad odds on 3rd downs and bad numbers in the red zone, that can swing back the other way.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the data enough on that. I don't know. Yeah. Like I know obviously
something to think about.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to track as the year goes along, and especially teams like I said, like Kansas City, like Jacksonville, like New Orleans, like Cincinnati. I think those are teams that are really, we kind of had expectations for those offenses, and I think they've all kind of struggled in that specific situation. So that'll be something interesting to track. I don't know how much like data it's historically we talk about the turnover luck, how typically that swings back and forth one way or the other. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much that swings back and forth one way or the other. I don't know. It's just something I've noticed this year with these teams struggling, not so much about like the overall trends.
Yeah, something to, I think maybe I'll make a video on that at some point, figure that out. But Colts Jaguars next on the list. The Jaguars might not. Gardner Minshew, he's a reliever. You can't have him going out there starting games. It's I don't know. Like Aroldis Chapman used to be a starter, and they're like no, like you need to be a reliever. That's Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, he made some of the worst throws of the day, legitimately. And we just talked about how every quarterback sucks now. And he had some of the worst throws of the day. They were rough. It's never a good sign when your backup quarterback has to throw the ball 55 times. Right. And another one where it's like, I don't even think Jacksonville played that well, but they scored 37 points. So yeah, I can't complain about it that much. And, big win for the Jags. They're 2-0 against the Colts, which seem like might be their biggest competitors for the AFC South. So, maybe this team gets rolling too.
Yeah, and I agree with God. I do think that was a good take by you, Kyle. So far, Jonathan Taylor has come back after getting paid 14 carries, 2.6 yards per carry so far in his 2 weeks. So it hasn't gone particularly well for the Indianapolis Colts in that regard. I thought the Jaguars defense played great in this one. I thought they were really good. Yes, it was. I get it, but Trayvon Walker half a sack. So there you go. Caleb Jason gets a sack in this one. He's back. Haven't given up on him yet either. This is good stuff by the Jaguars defense. Very good defense. They just, offense wasn't quite as dominant, but I think the Colts defense is still good. But with Richardson maybe out for a year now at this point, I still just think the Colts, they don't have enough offensive firepower, I think, this year. This is a fun year, but I think they're a rebuilding team.
Yeah. Pittman continues to look great. I think the running game will get going. Taylor will get going. Obviously, it's only his second game back. I think there's a few interesting things with this Jaguars team. You're underselling Trayvon Walker's game here. Half a sack, 2 quarterback hits. This might be his best game of his career.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Jacksonville looked like a way better team. That's kind of how I felt. And part of that is obviously the quarterback being hurt. But, I don't know. They look better to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Jacksonville's they're a very good team. So we'll I don't know. Any thoughts left in this one?
Not really. I mean, this game felt like bigger than what we just gave it credit for, because obviously these are the 2 best teams in the division, and the Colts kind of I think needed this one, but at the same time, like I don't know, I didn't feel like anything new about these teams. Like I think Jacksonville's solid, but I think their offense needs to get better, and I think the Colts are just like you said, probably a year or 2 away.
Yeah, like sometimes there's one of those games where it's like, 2 good like defenses, and it ends up being high scoring, and we're like, whoa, well, what happened there? Like that was weird. Sometimes there's games that kind of happen exactly the way we thought they would. This is one of those. A game that did not go that way. Vikings Bears, which we were expecting this high flying affair, points across the board. Instead, the final score is 19-13 here for Chicago. Now, Fields did get hurt he still played about half of the game here for Chicago. And weirdly, they scored more points with Tyson Baguette here. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce Tyson's name, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce it. Kyle, interesting move by Chicago, going for an undrafted free agent quarterback to try and make Justin Fields look better if he ends up having to step in. A good move.
Yeah. So Tyson Baggin, he went to Shepherd University.
Okay.
Division II college. And the first thing they said was his dad was an arm wrestling champion.
Yeah, I heard that.
And then he dropped back to pass on his first play and fumbled. So he's still got to work on that hand strength to compete with
I
dad.
Guess so, yeah. Wrestle the dad's more, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Listen, we have a chance next week for Brian Hoyer against Tyson Baggin.
Ooh.
I think this is Thursday Night Football. No, it's not. It's just normal Sunday. But there is a chance that happens next week. So this is I don't know. That could be interesting, I guess. This Minnesota offense looks a lot different without Justin Jefferson, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like they had no explosiveness. Absolutely zero. It looked bad.
Yeah, and you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, like TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne, like Alexander Madison, Jordan Addison. Those guys are all meant to be complementary pieces for Justin Jefferson. Like that's how they're all built. Also, someone said, so it's Badgent, like beauty pageant. Okay, so Badgent. Actually, I will say this. I was kind of making jokes about Badgent. I thought he played all right. Like given the circumstances coming in, I didn't think this was a disastrous. Like I think he did what you could have expected him outside of that early fumble for Chicago. Like I'm not saying he was good. I'm just saying like an undrafted Division II quarterback coming in, having to play cold was fine. I wouldn't. If you're a friend of his, you should be happy about how he played.
Yeah, I mean those 2 turnovers I thought were bad, but
yeah,
I didn't think the rest of his game were bad. He made some big plays. Just wasn't enough, and completely short armed that ball that was intercepted.
The Bears might be getting the first overall pick, right? I mean, this is a big day if you're a big Caleb Williams believer who lives in Chicago.
Yeah, all the Notre Dame fans in Chicago probably like, oh, he's not that good after the Saturday night.
Gotcha. He had a bad day?
Yeah, he had 3 picks playing in the rain in Chicago, South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame, to their credit, Notre Dame has 2 corners that are going to be in the NFL too. So, like, they got some real studs. And it wasn't a good USC day. Their offensive line looked horrible. Caleb looked horrible. I don't know what happened. It was a bad game.
Somehow the Vikings look worse after winning this game, even though I picked the Bears to win. Like, I thought the Bears were going to win. I thought Fields would be healthy. And they got the 49 playing the 49ers on Monday Night Football. Primetime Kirk going up against San Francisco. Bet the house on the 49ers here.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that one. I agree with you. I think this offense not having explosiveness without Jefferson. I mean, I thought obviously it was going to be worse, but it was a lot worse. And it was a lot worse against a bad defense. I will say, like, Danielle Hunter looked like the best player in this game. So, he still got it. And he was a menace in this game. And I think he was the one that hurt Fields too. Obviously not intentionally, just happened that way. But he was just getting after it. He chased him down on a play too. And like just ran him down. And it was a really impressive play. So Danielle Hunter's still that guy. I was impressed.
Yeah. Good stuff. Cardinals Rams. Let's finish up with this game. As this is a football game. Both teams played for 60 minutes. There was running and passing involved. Kyle, your thoughts?
Man, the Cardinals are so annoying to bet against. Like, can't you just lose games? Like, can't you just get blown out like every other bad team? Like, why do we got to make this stressful for a half? Rams,
that's why you bet against them. They're fun.
Yeah, Rams did turn it on. Cooper Kupp's still amazing. And, with him, with Kyron Williams, with this stuff happened. I mean, the Rams are good still. I think they turned it on the second half and did what they had to do. Joshua Dobbs, maybe not as starting caliber as we said earlier in the season. Even though I didn't think he was horrible in this game, I thought he had some bad plays.
Were we saying he was starting caliber earlier in the season?
There was a lot of Joshua Dobbs is not one of the is a top 32 quarterback.
Well, maybe but let's be honest, there's not 32 starting quarterbacks, right? There's like 25, and then like 4 rookies, and then like a few that like the team's just for some reason throwing out there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, he struggled in this game. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, he did. I mean, Aaron Donald. I can't believe he didn't have a sack because I feel like he was all over the place in this. Every time I was watching it, he was making something happen. But yeah, Aaron Donald's a very good player. Defense played well for the Rams. Offense wasn't quite as. This was a very Cooper Kupp dependent offense. As Tutu Atwell 1 catch for 30 yards, Puka Nacua 4 catches for 26 yards. Higbee had 2 catches, and Ronnie Rivers had a catch, and that was it. And then Cooper Kupp 7 catches for 148 yards. And then Kyron Williams, 20 carries, 158 yards. How about that? So Rams were able to get it done. But Rams, is this in some ways, despite the fact that they blew them out, kind of a bit of a disappointing win for the Rams? Because it was kind of it was close for 3 quarters, or is it, hey, it's hard to win games, especially divisional games in the playoffs. You won 26-9, you're good.
Yeah, I think there are some things you could be disappointed in, but at the same time, like, you're getting Kupp acclimated back in the offense, and he had the best game of the season. Of his 2 games, obviously, he had his best game of the season. Kyle Williams hit some big runs in the second half. He looked electric in that second half, and your defense performed too. I mean, that's another big thing is, you wanted to get this defense performing too, and, maybe this Rams team is just competitive, and, you found different ways to win, and I think you take credit in that, even if you think you have some things to tweak. I'm pretty interested in that Steelers game next Sunday.
Yeah,
I think that is. I think that's going to tell a lot about both of these teams. This Rams offense going against a good defense, and what this Rams defense is against that Steelers offense.
Yeah, should be fascinating. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. Kyle, I can't believe it. I drank a White Claw during this show. Not a single comment about it. I've been drinking Bud Lights, Pepsi, getting comments left and right. People love to hate on White Claw. No one says anything.
I know. I don't know what happened. I had a Guinness on Wednesday. Nobody said anything too. So maybe they just got over the drink debate.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, DG did say something now, but I can't tell if he said it. I can't tell if they said it before or after I showed the White Claw. I wasn't looking at the comments when I said that. So DG, credit to you if you realized it right then.
Yeah, I don't know, man. What a time. I'm just drinking water tonight, so got my bottle.
I think you could argue really I am weird. Too with the White Claw, but
yeah. I feel really weird drinking from this water bottle live.
Yeah, it is weird. I don't like it.
Yeah, with the straw. Like, I don't like straw drinks usually, but this just came with it. It's a convenient water bottle.
Okay. Yeah, well, if getting a good water bottle is tough, because like some of them are really like, what are we talking? Let's go to bed. Kyle, do you have any final thoughts?
No. Looking forward. It should be a good game tomorrow night. The Bruins are 2-0, so they're winning the Stanley Cup.
Nice.
Rangers with the big...
They won so much last year, and then obviously went on to win the Stanley Cup.
Yes, they did. Thank you for reminding me. And then what else is happening? I forget what else is happening.
Baseball.
Oh, Rangers, big win. Game 1. Jordan Montgomery. Maybe the Yankees could have used him.
Yeah. I feel a little better about the Rays performance, given that the Rangers have like just gone on to dominate like everybody.
Yeah, they're 6-0 in the playoffs. So.
Baseball's so stupid though. Like baseball playoffs, I'm totally on like the baseball playoffs are just complete crapshoot. Like the fact that the top 5 records all got knocked out before the conference final.
Yeah, I mean it's almost becoming hockey-esque, right? Like that was the joke in hockey that the 8 seed's going to win the playoffs every year.
But like hockey, it just feels like it's a different sport. Like hockey, it's like, oh no, the physical teams do well. Like it's just like 2 different like things. Because I feel like there are teams like baseball. It just feels like who knows what's going to. Like good offenses will like go cold randomly. Like bad offenses will get hot. Who knows?
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. I mean, I hate to pat myself on the back, but I told you about this Evan Carter kid.
Yeah, unbelievable.
He's the best player in baseball, and I told you about him before that series. I mean,
yeah,
he's just absolutely incredible right now.
Yeah,
he made huge plays in this game. He made 2 catches on the wall, and he came up with a big hit that led to the first run of the game. I mean, the kid's phenomenal.
Yeah, we have a chat. Excellent show you done, my children. God, that is from Icicle Edits, who speaks to God for us. So we appreciate that line of communication there. Kyle, let's get out of here. Anything else to say?
No, I'm good. Looking forward to tomorrow night. Everyone get some rest. See you Wednesday, 9 p.m.
Yes.
Eastern. Tune in.
Yeah, good stuff. Again, thank you to everybody. We do appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.